Regular session, Mayor and City Council meeting, 6 p.m., Wednesday, August 7th, 2019, in City Hall Complex. I call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for invocation. Madam Clerk.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Invocation will be given by Father Velasquez, Sacred Heart Church.
I'd just like to say it's a privilege and honor to be able to say this blessing and blessing upon the council this evening. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we ask your presence among us this evening as members of the City Council Nogales meet to conduct and direct the business of the city. Send forth your wisdom and knowledge to assist them as they deliberate the issues and challenges of the city of Nogales, keeping in mind the greater good of all the people they serve. Guide their decisions so that effective and practical solutions may be found and implemented to resolve the problems before them. May your blessing come upon the mayor and all the members of the council, so that all the citizens of Nogales may enjoy the fruits of their dedication and selfless commitment to serve. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Father. I know right now Mr. Varona feels very, very good.
Father can be excused, so I can speak freely.
Actually, before the meeting, I asked the Father to stay up to, let me see, resolution. No, I'm just
Mr. Mayor, I did forget to ask the Father if he can do an exorcism.
yes. If the way, it all depends. It all depends. I told him in my office that we had a great council, so let's make sure that we do act like a good council. All right. Item number 4, call to the public. We have, I believe, just one. Frankfurt. Barbara Mendoza. Please state your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Barbara Mendoza. My address is 349 East Calle Soto, here in Nogales, 85621. I'm here today because for many, many years I've attended and worked the Labor Day picnic up in Pima County, and it's a very large event, and it has grown, and it's very successful. A great opportunity for the community up there to celebrate the working people in Pima County and Tucson. And I also I wear a few hats like many of you, and I am a precinct committee person for the Democratic Party. And a few of us were just sitting around a few weeks ago and thinking about why can't we have something like that here in Nogales? And so that's exactly what we're trying to do. A few of us have started to organize the first annual Community Labor Day Picnic, and I left flyers for all of you, and I'm just here tonight to ask for your help in spreading the word about the picnic and whatever support that maybe you individually or the city could provide us. The event will be happening here at Theachea Park from 11 to 3 on Monday, Labor Day. So I thank you all for your attention and your kind cooperation, and we hope to see you there at the picnic as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going. Did you hear?
Yes, sir.
You gotta be there?
Republican meeting.
That's the one. That's not what she said.
Oh, I misheard then.
Mr. Arona, would you please take care of your
Trumpet, your friend.
councilman there? All right, item number 5, discussion items. Number 1, discussion, possible action permitting the Dia de los Muertos and Bacanora Festival on city property streets, October 26, 2019, and Fiestas Patrias on city property streets, September 14th, 2019. This was presented by Councilwoman Lopez. Would you like to say a few words on?
Well, these are part of the events, all the cultural events that we are bringing to the city. This is the Dia de los Muertos, it will be the 6th year. And the Fiestas Patrias it's been also for maybe 7 or 8 years. And I really think it's very important for our community to have these kind of events. And this time we're trying to do everything downtown, so it's going to be at Morley Avenue. We'll be using Caron Park and within the street. And
Would you like to make a motion on it?
well, yeah,
Okay.
I would like,
Move.
yeah.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Okay, discussion?
I have to be very selective on my verbiage today, Mayor.
Yes.
Please. So, but I would like to say that I'm very supportive of these activities. It's good that it's being held on Morley Avenue because I think it's going to be a very positive economic development attraction down in that area where they need some help to bring in more shoppers down in that area. The only thing that I just question, I realize it's a partnership, but these people, do they require any kind of a liability insurance or anything like that? Or is the partnership, the city covering all the liability since it's in the street?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I don't believe we've had a requirement to have insurance. There's no really extra liability associated with it. We'll be closing off the street, so if anything, we'll probably reduce liability, but I will check up on that, Mr. Mayor and Councilman Barona, just to check with our insurance contact to make sure that our policy is what it needs to be, and if there is anything, we'll have time to update it.
Councilman?
It's a positive activity.
Yeah, I believe it's gonna fall under the category B. So,
C.
is it C?
C.
C, okay, correction. So, it's a lot different than when we ourselves put in, the money and everything else, so. Okay.
No further question. Call for the question.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, thank you very much. Item number 6, liquor licenses. Number 1, consideration possible action of liquor license 2019-5.
Second.
Discussion? This falls under,
Just-
yeah, go ahead.
Where were Mr. Mayor, where was this gonna be held?
This is the same one on Morley Avenue.
Oh, it's the same one?
Yes. If you notice, it falls, this is the Fiestas Patrias, September
Okay.
14th.
All right.
Who moved it, Mayor?
It was, I believe it was Councilman Rojas and Councilman, no?
Bojorquez.
Bojorquez?
I moved it.
Okay,
Sorry.
And council will move.
okay.
No.
And it falls under the Culture of Arts fundraiser, so it's a nonprofit. So is there more discussion on this?
Call for the question, Mayor.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Number
Mr.
2.
Mayor, just,
Yes, go ahead.
if we could take the one from San Felipe de Jesus, the two from San Felipe de Jesus, and Humane Society at the same time,
Yes,
we should have put these under the
consent agenda.
consent agenda. Unless they,
Well, I was thinking about that, but I thought maybe we want to discuss the issue.
well, if one of us has a problem with it, like, we just pull it out.
Okay. All right, so you want to do all 3 of them?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll mention them all 3. 2, 3, and 4. Consideration possible action on liquor license 2019-6. Consideration and possible action on liquor license 2019-7. And consideration possible action liquor license 2019-8.
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, on orders, I'm going to move number 4 to number 1 and then number 1 to number 4. So I'll just change the number on it. So we're going to go with consideration of possible action of order 2019-08-042. That's an order of the City Council of Arizona authorizing the retirement of Nogales Police Department Narcotics K-9 Deuce and that's the PD is going to do that. Chief?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It is a bittersweet moment right now since we're retiring the last canine that the Nogales Police Department has up to date right now. Deuce unfortunately has been going through some medical issues and he's up there in age already, so we decided it's best for him, it's best for the department and the handler to go ahead and retire him and let him spend the rest of his living years with Mr. Zuniga, Officer Zuniga and his family, which he has for the last 6 years. If I may, Mr. Mayor, I want to give you a little bit of a bio on Deuce.
Okay, go ahead.
Canine Deuce is a Belgian Malinois who was born in the Netherlands. Deuce began his career with the Nogales Police Department in 2013, graduating at the top of his class from the Arizona Department of Corrections Academy. Canine Deuce was certified by the National Police Canine Association in narcotics detection and patrol duties. Canine Deuce was also an active member of our SWAT team and has been the first police canine to attend and successfully graduate TAC Dogs Canine SWAT School in 2014. He has also assisted numerous local, state, and federal agencies in southern Arizona, which include DEA, HSI, U.S. Border Patrol, U.S. Customs, and the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office. Canine Deuce was also assigned to the Santa Cruz County Hideout Investigative Task Force as a task force officer. Canine Deuce was also very active in our community. He would show the public his incredible jumping abilities and his excellent discipline, which made a joy for hundreds of students to see. Canine Deuce was often requested to participate in public presentations such as Operation Detour, Red Ribbon Week, Career Days, and their graduations, not to mention the hundreds of drug sniffs he conducted at our local schools. Canine Deuce is also responsible for several successful suspect apprehensions with incredible accuracy. During his 6 years of service with the Nogales Police Department, using his incredible sniffing abilities made it possible for our local jail to have many tenants, while still keeping an estimated $6 million worth of narcotics off our streets. He was a real nightmare for those involved in drug trafficking. His excellent temperament made him a joy to work with, on or off the clock. Canine Deuce is one of a kind warrior and an excellent companion who will now enjoy the rest of his life with his family. And he's like a son to Officer Zuniga. So with that said, I want to present Officer Zuniga and Canine Deuce with a plaque that reads, the Nogales Police Department recognizes Canine Deuce on his retirement for his years of service, devoted service to the Nogales Police Department, 2013 through 2019. And this is what it is.
Very good.
I was going to shake his hand too. I don't know, but
You want your family to come up here and take a picture with you?
Officer Zuniga.
Mayor, you want to?
There's no motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Okay.
Yo me acuerdo
Sure?
cuando se casó.
I'm sure.
What side is it okay?
Right there in the middle, Mayor.
In the middle. We're gonna have to, Chief, you gotta do a motion on it, we passed it.
Mr. Mayor, motion to adopt order 2019-08-042 as presented and recommended.
Second.
Okay, with discussion, before you leave, did I hear you say that this is our last canine?
Yes, sir.
Are
Yes,
we
sir.
gonna have another canine?
Actually, we're in the process. Within the next 3 weeks, we're looking at getting 2 more canines with 2
Oh,
more
okay.
handlers.
So
We
you're
just-
gonna be getting another one? Are
No,
you
sir.
gonna be-
Unfortunately, it's a bittersweet moment since Officer Zuniga is going to be retiring on Friday. So he's leaving and his dog is leaving. So They're both leaving us.
Mhm.
But they're
know
closing
you
a
were.
chapter, but they're starting a new chapter in their career and their life, so that's a kudos to them.
That's
I'm
good.
very proud of both of them. But at the present time, we went through a process, and we're about to pick 2 handlers, and we should get 2 dogs here in the next couple of weeks. And after that, they need to go to a 6-week school in Tucson through Tucson Police Department. So we should get them up and running before the year's over.
That's good to hear. Thank you very much, Chief.
So there, good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
All right. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Could've been 20 years.
The ayes have it.
Was it 20 years ago?
All right. We should have retirement for some of the concepts,
Effect point.
effective tonight.
Trumpeteers.
All right. Let's go with number 2, consideration possible action of order 2019-08-040.
What about this
The,
one? All three.
You're gonna take it on number 4.
Number 4.
that went to number 4. We went around. Okay, so it's number 2. Okay, do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Is there anybody? No discussion? None?
No.
Okay,
It's pretty much.
okay. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Number 3, consideration and possible action of order 2019-08-041.
Mr. Mayor, I declare a conflict of interest and will not participate in this discussion.
Thank you. Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second. Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question. What's the conflict? Councilman?
The attorney would have to answer that question.
Yes.
Is it because you are on the school board? There is a particular statute, Mayor
Yes, go
and
ahead.
members of council, that where you sit on 2 government boards, even though there's a matter that's before you, it is by statute defined as not a conflict. So you don't have to declare a conflict, but that's fine. Sometimes
But if they want to, they
okay
could.
to be more safe than,
that's
you know.
I don't feel like I have a conflict. So,
And the statute says you
Okay.
don't,
All
Councilman Rojas.
thank you.
All right.
You declare more. Thank you.
Okay, I had both motions, so discussion. Letty, did I have 1 and 2?
Yes.
Okay. Discussion.
No.
No discussion?
Mayor, I think it's always been a good joint venture that we've had with the high school, with the schools.
The only discussion I was gonna have, but I mean, I know it's probably going off to left field on it. At one time, they said that they were gonna give us $50,000, and they didn't, and then they went to 25,000, and then they
Wasn't that brought back, Mr. What? They didn't, wasn't it brought back?
No dice nada, ¿no?
Mr. Rojas, can you help us on that?
No, Mr. Rojas, don't say anything. I thought Mr. Hanasia was gonna mention
I feel
that.
comfortable voting, but I don't know about discussing it.
Oh, boy.
Huh?
No, you don't wanna say anything, Mr. Rojas. It's fine. Well, I figured
Now I'm having second thoughts. Maybe I should.
No. Well, we discussed that during the budget, remember? We
Yeah.
said no to it. I figured I'd bring that up just to joke with Mr. Varona.
Well, I'm laughing.
All right, so,
Forgive them, Father, they know not what they do.
all right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the ayes have it. All right, now we go to the first one on the top, which is, let me see, yeah, same thing. Consideration possible action? Yes. One, two, three.
Yes, Arnold.
Yes. Consideration possible action, order 2019-08-039.
Mr. Mayor, I declare on this item a conflict of interest.
Okay,
So move.
Second.
Councilman Rojas, do you wanna
I feel good.
You
I
feel
mean,
good?
the attorney already gave me the
Okay.
okay. Why am I gonna argue? I'm not an attorney.
Okay, all right, so, is there any discussion on this item? No? Okay, which is good, all right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, number 5, consideration possible action of order 2019-08-043.
So move, Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Yes, I just want to say something on this issue, because I brought this issue up to the union representative of why they weren't participating the same way, and they said they were happy the way they were. So I just want to make sure that it's been changed, which is your business, but I don't think it was anything that had to do with the mayor and council, and I just want that clear here.
Yes.
Because when we were dealing with this, I made it a point to ask, why aren't you participating in the same? They said they felt comfortable the way they were, so it has nothing to do with us, correct?
Can I respond?
Sure. Up
Can
here.
you Please at the podium.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm not dressed for this.
That's all right. State your name and your address for the
Linda
record.
Hatfield, 10237 East Placidia, Crestamia, Tucson. You asked me before the meeting, and at that point, I didn't know how you were going to vote on the other 2 contracts. So at the time, I thought, because we had been called in to make any changes that we felt comfortable with, so I thought at the time that we were doing what we had agreed upon. Then when we discovered that you were going to go ahead and leave the other 2 as is, then I requested to be consistent that ours be the same. So I apologize for that confusion, but when you asked me, you hadn't voted yet.
No problem with consistency and transparency.
Right.
Yes. Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item number 6, consideration possible action of order 2019-08-044.
So move, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilman.
I'm in agreement with everything here. I have one question that I want to ask. I'm especially in agreement with number 3. I think it's fair that the proposed acting city manager be compensated at the annual salary of what was left by the city manager, because we expect him to fulfill those duties completely. On number 4, I need some clarification there.
Number 4?
On number 4. So I'll address my question to Mr. Kissinger. Mr. Kissinger, this annual salary of $104,826, what is your present salary?
$87,856.
Okay. So we're talking about an 8,000, 7,000 increase in salary when you go back. And what is the reason for that?
Actually, the increase is $6,860, Dr. Barona, and it's exactly 7% of the salary. As I consulted with several attorneys on taking the position of acting city manager, and talking over the entire situation, it was recommended by my attorneys to look at a potential compensation package, and this is what we came up with. The 104,826 number that's in there is 7% more than the highest paid director in the city of Nogales, which it was prior to the passing of the budget. So to keep consistency on my part, because I'd be supervising the department directors, I'm requesting that the compensation as returned to deputy city manager be the 104,826.
Okay, so the highest paid director, when you said you are at 97 or so, and the highest paid director is who?
Chief Bermudez, sir.
And he's at what salary now?
98, sir.
All right, so when you included the 7%, when you told me $6,000, did it include the gap between Chief Bermudez's salary and your salary at presently?
So the 104,826 is exactly 7% over the 98,000, sir.
Right, so then there's still over the 98,000 that you're currently earning right now
No, it's 7% over the 98,000.
of Chief Bermudez.
That is correct.
Okay, so when you told me 6,000 or so, it didn't include the gap between Chief Bermudez and your present salary right now?
No, and that
Because
it's
you're
minimal.
lower.
Right.
You're lower right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Mayor, this is the position that I guess I was trying to avoid, and this is no fault of Mr. Kissinger. This is what happens when we go ahead and make isolated adjustments for salaries. What happened is, I can see, is that we're compensating somebody now more than the actual supervisor of the person. What I have a dilemma with, and we created this problem, okay, because of that. But I don't want to compound the problem. So I want to make sure here again that our employees get treated fairly. We told the employees when we talked about a $500 bonus for all of our employees that the city manager at that time said that I had a reservation and he didn't want to do it. So I followed his direction. I don't want to get into isolated increases in salary because Mr. Kissinger, rightly so, has found a discrepancy. But if we approve this, then what's wrong with Mr. Bachelier if he comes over here and tells us, I'm entitled to 7% too? What am I going to tell Mr. Bachelier? I mean, to be fairness, if the HR person comes over and says, well, what about me? What about my 7%? Or what about when we had that comprehensive salary survey that said 14% of our employees are way below that, we need to get them up? Well, what happens to those people because they don't have a voice here? And I just don't, I don't want us as a council to start saying certain people are going to get increases and certain people are not. I mean, either I would prefer, and you know, I take the blame because I did vote for this. So I really don't want to do this right now. I would like to wait until we have our comprehensive study of the salaries and then make a decision and treat everybody equally. Now, we have, I don't want Mr. Kissinger to leave. Well, you really didn't solve my problem because when I go back to the position of deputy city attorney, you're asking me to city manager. When I go back to that position, then I'm still in the predicament that another person that I supervise is making more money than me. I comprehend that, and you are correct in that. So, Mayor, my suggestion is we might have to revisit that issue again, but I don't want to give out salary increases until we do the comprehensive study. That's what we paid money for.
Yeah, I understand, but I don't know if you know this, but the previous city manager, the one that just left, did give salary increases to a couple directors and employees without saying anything. He did it right before the budget. And I questioned him on that. So I don't know why he did it before the budget. And
That was
the word he used was, they stepped up to the plate. That is not the reason you give a raise, okay? And I know how you feel. But he did it to several. And he did it to directors, 2, three directors, or, yeah, three directors and several employees. And matter of fact, I asked the finance director yesterday to bring all the names and exactly how much they received, because I honestly don't believe that that was right. He should have come to us, or because as what he did, I think, since it wasn't budgeted for, I think it should have been amended, the budget, to be able to do something like that. So when Mr. Kissinger presented his paper to me about this agenda item, I looked at it and I didn't see it. I said, okay, he's coming to the council. Something that the previous city manager did not do. Mr. Kissinger is coming to the council for us to make a decision. And I think it's only right that we make a decision right now. And we say yes or no if we don't like it, but I mean, it's better to, like I said it on my inaugural, transparency and accountability. And I think Mr. Kissinger is being transparent, and I think this is being very accountable on behalf of the city council, if we make a decision or not. But the previous city manager was not transparent and was not accountable to what he did. So that's the way I feel about this item right now. So, you know, Mr. Rojas, Councilman, you were going to say something?
Yes, Mayor. So you're gonna keep that salary, that increase, that 7%? Is that what you're bringing up, Council?
Yes.
That's what I'm reading.
Yes, Council.
So
That's the only one I have a
that's the
comment.
salary that's gonna remain?
Mr.
Even
Mayor?
if you go back to your previous position?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Right.
yes, go ahead.
That's right, Councilman. As I'm in the position of acting, I'll receive the compensation as the same as Dr. Felix is receiving. That's what item number 3 is. Upon you hiring a city manager and or appointing another acting, whenever the council wishes, I would go back as deputy city manager, my previous position, at a salary of $104,826 annually. This is what this order is approving. And that's what I'm requesting from you to be your acting city manager.
And honestly, I talking to my about, you know, this is me talking. I believe this is fair, you know, for the work he's done and the work he's gonna do, and it's fair that we can't have other directors that would be under the city manager or the deputy city manager be making more money than the deputy city manager. So, you know, it's only fair. Mr. Borges, go ahead.
Yes, I believe it's a fair decision. Mr. Kissinger has been doing, actually he's been doing the city manager's job for a long time now. Not only now that he's acting city manager, I've seen him come up and resolve a lot of the problems that the city manager should have done. So I think he's entitled to that compensation.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Also, even after we get a city manager, I think the responsibility that for at least the first 6 months or the year, Mr. Kissinger will still have a big responsibility. And I think that's a reasonable compensation. We're not discussing, you know, him keeping another 30,000 or an addition of 30,000. We're speaking a very reasonable amount, which I think he should be compensated for what he's going to be doing.
And remember, we made a decision in the council also. That's why I thought about it too when I looked at this, that we made a decision as a council that we were going to offer the new city manager from 135 to 160. Didn't we say that?
Yeah.
So to 150, is it?
130, 150.
So
Oh, that's a city attorney.
no, so city manager is 160, 165 or something. So
135,
look at the leap of the person that's going to come in.
Yeah.
That person's going to leap. He could leap another $30,000 above the previous city manager. So,
Hopefully, no.
to me, I think it's a fair decision. And Councilwoman, do you have anything?
No, I think the same. He really deserves it. I mean, I've always said it. I mean, anything, any problem, you're the one that takes care of it, really, and I really appreciate it.
Vice Mayor, do you have anything to say?
I'm in agreement, I was questioning, due to the fact of the financial problems that we're having, that was my main question, but, if the numbers are there, then.
Well, in the near future, I will be presenting you something else that you're going to be questioning too, what was done previously, and it's important to know. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Mayor, in the previous meeting, it was unanimous to go along with.
Yeah, but we hadn't discussed
Right,
this was a-
that's what
wasn't
I'm
on-
saying. We didn't discuss this detail, but we all voted for it.
Yes,
Okay. And you're recommending.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
The ayes have it. Thank you very much. Item number 7, consideration and possible action order 2019-08-045.
So moved, Mayor.
So moved, yeah. Second.
Discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Let's go ahead.
I didn't know you guys. Well, I have a letter here from Racine Lopez and Lizardi. Where's Mr. Lizardi?
No.
He can't show up?
He was notified about the meeting.
Actually, no, no one asked me to have you here. I think the letter is very straightforward. They didn't see the need to spend the money to get him to come down.
All right.
Well, please, we spend money all the time when you hire outside attorneys, so.
I don't hire outside attorneys, and I did not hire Mr. Lizardi.
No, we did. We hired Mr. Well, I feel uncomfortable that Mr. Lizardi is not here. I would assume if we hired him to represent us on this case, that he would be here. So, I don't know who to ask these questions to. But the one thing that I want to highlight here is he says, we also recommend obtaining a memorandum from the Public Works Director that there will be no unreasonable adverse effects to the surface water. And I want to find out, I want to make sure our surface water isn't affected, because then it could affect the water that's being delivered to our residents here in Nogales. So where is that memorandum?
No, I don't have that memorandum, but I know that that's not a problem.
Okay. Well,
But we can obviously put that together in writing.
Did you talk to
it's
Mr.
here.
Martinez about this?
Yes.
You did?
I just want to make sure, Mayor, I'm not prepared to vote on something if I don't have that, because that has an impact on the services we provide the residents of the city of Nogales. We bought them. We bought, or we looked into at that time. I wasn't here, but I'm sure that their intent was to provide water for the residents of Nogales, which is our responsibility. Mr. Lizardi also says, we recommend the city of Nogales and Pino Springs enter into a separate license agreement for each 10-year period for the non-potable groundwater and attach it to the settlement agreement.
Mr. Massey?
Right, and that is something that we're authorized to do with this order, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Council, is to take other necessary actions. And so, yeah, if that is something, I don't see that as necessary, but that is something that we have the authority to do by staff, because that's not going to materially affect this agreement.
Tell me about this thing, because we discussed this 2 times, about this, the gift clause. Because the first time we talked about this, when they just wanted to pay us $1 a round. I see him, if we would have accepted that, now he surfaced this, that we would have had a problem with the gift clause. He outlines here, that his research indicates that there's no problem now with the gift clause?
Right. And that's because, if I can
Go ahead.
respond,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Mayor and members of council, the change from January when we discussed this till today is the city did do additional due diligence by retaining Mr. Charles Hevronic, who's here in the council chambers today, and if council has any questions. His role was to determine the fair market value for raw water in this AMA on an acre-foot basis. So with that, outside broker who examined similar type transactions, he came up with a range of value for the acre feet of water, and we very quickly agreed to meet in the middle. And so the basic price per acre foot has been set by Mr. Hevronic, and the claim that Keno Springs has, which they're waiving, falls very, very closely to that range. So it's very much in line with market value for the water.
Mr. Hevronic, I just noticed here your resume, and you and I were at Arizona State University at the same time. Could you come up here and explain to us how you got to that figure of $2 and 200, what is it? 202? Because this wasn't, when we first talked about this, this wasn't explained. This wasn't even mentioned. So then I noticed that you came on board, and that took care of the $1 per round that they wanted to pay us for that non-potable water. So now tell us how you arrived at that decision.
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, what I did was I just went out and examined the market and tried to find where we had leases of non-potable water that were taking place, not only in the Santa Cruz AMA, which by the way is very hard to find, but throughout the state in areas that would be comparable. So I did research, I reached out to attorneys, I reached out to parties I knew that occasionally had to lease water. Now, I also engage in leasing water myself as a water broker for clients, specifically type 2 water rights, okay? And again, with a type 2 water right, it's a piece of paper that allows you to attach it to a well and then to pump water. So it has similarities to what the city is discussing to do here with Keno Springs. And so I just went out into the marketplace and looked for what data I could gather. Now, again, everybody, please understand, there's not a public database for this. You have to reach out to people that may be leasing water that you have done business with, or you know, or have come into contact over the years, or where an attorney that's active in the water business would be able to refer you to somebody that they know had done a similar type of lease.
Mr. Koenig, if you can help me with this, it says right here, as soon as Keno Springs has pumped 100 acre-feet of water, it will begin to pay this rate. I don't know, first I don't know why are we giving them, is it 100 feet of...
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, if that's in the memo, 100, it's 1,000 acre
you
feet.
got here 100.
Okay, then that
This
was
is the memo
enough.
from you. Okay,
Yeah.
so if it's 1,000, how do we know we get to 1,000 feet? And then to you, why is the water for free? Or let him answer, sir.
Could you, forgive me, Mayor, members of the council, could you restate your question to me?
Yes, sir.
I don't know how you want me to answer how you come up with 1,000, because I had nothing to do with the 1,000.
No, I don't want you to answer the 1,000. He's going to answer the 1,000. I just want to know, for me, they go down 1,000 feet. How do we know when they get to 1,000 feet to make sure they don't exceed that? Because
You mean that they actually pump 1,000 acre feet? Well, you should have a monitoring device on the well.
Okay, so if there's a monitoring device on the well, this was another concern that I had. The well, everything on the well is going to be installed by them. And what worries me, Mr. Massey, is that as I read through everything, everything seems to say at their sole discretion, everything at their sole discretion, at their sole discretion. I mean, we're the owners, and everything we're passing over to them is at their sole discretion. I mean, the meter was a problem because we didn't check the meter and they didn't check the meter when they became the owners of them. Nobody checked the meter, so now the meter became a problem. So if the meter is going to go in there, or if they're going to be putting wells in there, or pipelines in there, everything is done at their sole discretion. My experience has been that people like to come and say that what happens doesn't happen, and then all of a sudden they fold and we get stuck with everything. So that's a concern. And then at the end of this 10 years or 20 years, who owns all of the equipment? Who owns the well, the additional well and everything? I couldn't find where it says that the city becomes the owner of all of that.
The city does not become the owner of any property that is going to be on their own. The facilities that are located on their property remain their property. And that includes a possible second well. What the city does, though, is it's leasing our well, which is well number 5, and they are tasked with improving it to their need, including putting a meter on there to our specifications and our satisfaction. So it's not all to their discretion. They have to build it to ADEQ standards. So the interconnect has to be, safe, and for the rest of the homes that are out there that are connected to the potable water system. And then they have to comply. There's a provision in there that Keno Springs must comply with all ADWR regulations, and at their cost file all those reports.
So everything has to be done with, when they build a well, we're giving them permission to use and build a well on our well number 5?
We're giving them permission to use well number 5 at their sole cost, and we have to.
That's our property?
That is our property, so effectively this will be a license to allow them to use our well. Correct.
So who owns the well that's on our property at the end of the license?
That would be ours.
That's ours.
Anything that they, at the end of the license, for example, if they put in a new motor or anything like that, then they could remove the motor prior to the end of the license. But it would come back to us at the same or better condition than what it is now.
Okay. But the well that they want to drill, it's going to be on their property. And we're just giving them a license to drill that well to tap into our raw water.
Right, and they would have to put a meter on that as well. So both wells would be metered for the purpose of determining when they reach 1,000 acre feet. And just to make that point, Mr. Mayor, the value for that 1,000 acre feet, that was what Mr. Lazardi was looking at. That this is not a freebie. We're not giving away 1,000 acre feet of water over the next 10 years. The value that the city receives in this settlement agreement is that Keno Springs waives their claim and dismisses with prejudice the current case that's pending in Santa Cruz County as it relates to the overcharging that's been going on for what we think is probably 25, 30 years.
25, 30 years?
Yes.
But there was a time that if this was to go into litigation, there was a time they got many years of free water, and then it went to 20 cents a gallon. Not even the residents of Nogales paid those kind of rates. Anyway, how did you determine 1,000 feet of free water?
1,000 acre feet of water?
Yes.
I think it goes right in line with the value set by our consultant. And so the current amount that the city owes, and you've had that memo for well more than a week, council members. Mm-hmm. And I put at the bottom of my memo, if anybody had any concerns or questions, to come and nobody came and talked to me. So but I'm happy to answer the questions now in public.
Yes.
But the value of that 1,000 acre feet is their relinquishing their claim against the city, which my memo puts forward to you the best estimates available to the city as to what we owe them and what they currently owe us on their water account, and the difference is approximately $195,000. And that's the value, that's the compensation to the city, and that's what Mr. Lazardi understood when he said that there was no gift clause issue here, because we're not giving away 1,000 acre feet for free. We're giving that in exchange for Keno Springs waiving their claim for additional dollars from the city. So it's deemed prepaid, essentially. When they waive their claim, it's basically prepaying for that 1,000 acre feet.
So once they hit 1,000 acre feet, it's over with? They have to pay us now?
They pay the market rate as established by Mr. Hebron, yes. Yes, sir.
How long will it take for them to get to 1,000 feet? Is this something that go 5, 10 years, or?
Well, it depends upon their consumptive use, and I think they could tell you that. I did no studies on that, but I was told that somewhere around 90 acre feet a year is what the intended use was going to be, so possibly 100 was giving it a little bit of buffer for hot years. But beyond that, I was not included into what was the consumptive use.
Thank you. The other thing is that I just want to make sure that our city, because we're helping them to stay in business. That's what we're doing. And I always see this at KSGC's sole cost and expense in reference to the new well site. And it's in its sole and absolute discretion. KSGC will establish a new well. Do we have any monitoring, any say to make sure that everything is being abided by? I mean, I feel like we're just turning over everything to them, and we're out of the picture, and I have an obligation to protect the citizens, because we're giving water over there, but then we ask our residents for a rate hike all the time to pay for all of our bonds, and I don't see that on this situation here. So I have that as a concern. And then here, when it goes the other way, KSGC shall install a meter on this well subject to city approval, which shall not be unreasonably held, sufficient to accurately measure all water pumped, which shall not be unreasonably held. What does that mean?
That's a legal term that is common in agreements where you say, okay, they're going to have to put the meter in, we're going to have to say that meter is to our satisfaction. And what that means is our satisfaction can't be arbitrary. It has to be based on real concerns. For example, if the meter just doesn't look to be accurate, or if the meter is not big enough, or things like that, it has to be valid. We can't just say, oh, we don't like that manufacturer, we prefer another manufacturer, or something like that. So, not unreasonably exercised. That's a phrase that when someone is being given the authority to exercise discretion, then the other party is being protected, because you're saying that the discretion is not going to be unreasonable. But if there's a fact basis to exercise the discretion, then yes, we will be allowed to rely on facts, relevant facts.
So then we will be allowed to.
Yes.
I just want to make sure, I just don't want to push that they're going to hold this contract and say, no, we are going to make all of the decisions and we're out of the picture. And then at the end of 20 years, I'm not going to be around here, but I want to make sure that the mayor and council know at that time that we made a good decision here. I don't want them to come back and say, we own it, and now we want to sell you the new well and all the extra piping and everything like that. If you're going to use
the
that, I want to make
piping
sure.
is only going to be used for their irrigation. We would have no need for that or desire to ever have it.
And Mr. Massey, here where it says if a temporary failure of the proposed golf course water supply occurs, creating an emergency as reasonably determined by KSGC that requires the application of city water to preserve the golf course, which would be the regular water. A water use emergency the city will permit the use of the interconnect between the golf course watering system described in the section. My question is, what if they say we have an emergency and we have an emergency that we need water? Who's gonna get the priority? I mean, I don't want them to come back and say, well, we understand that you have a priority, but we have a priority, and now all our 18 holes are dead. You ruined my business. I'm out of business now, and I'm gonna sue you because you didn't provide the water. I just wanna make sure.
That is, you know, an interesting fact scenario, that we would have insufficient water to permit them to irrigate, even temporarily. They, of course, are irrigating right now, not currently right now, I guess they've cut back quite a bit, but previously they've been irrigating all 18 holes on city water. And we have had previously times where, you know, a well has gone down, or we've had to take a tank out of service to do, you know, rehab and maintenance. And we've always been able to maintain a sufficient supply and flow. I mean, it would have to be an extraordinary situation where we did not have water in our tanks. I mean, like, our tanks are dry. And even in our worst, dry season, we are able to maintain our tanks.
Well, we don't know what's gonna happen in Sonora where we get our water if they continue to build and drain that surface water from us. Then we're gonna have a big problem. And I don't know what's gonna happen in 10, 15, 20 years, and I'm not gonna be around. All I'm trying to do is to highlight these things. If it does occur, I just wanna make sure the city is not at a disadvantage, that they come back and say, you know, you ruined my business. Well, what we needed though, I just wanna make sure that this agreement says if we say we have an emergency, we have final say of what an emergency is. That's what I wanna make sure.
Well, that language is not in there, I'll be honest with you, that if we declare an emergency, that we can cut them off from their contract rights, because, you know, in my discussion with staff, and I trying to be as you know, smart about this, there was never an indication that we would have that situation. So I would maybe toss that over to Keno Springs' attorney and say.
No, let me say something, you know, because I think it's going in there.
Okay.
Mr. Massey and Mr. Arona, we have 100-year water supply, the city of Nogales, with a Portrero well, okay? That, we acquired it. Yes, we did. We acquired it, and the reason we had to acquire that well, and we spent $2.5 million, was because they were going to put a moratorium on us that we couldn't build anything. And do you remember that, Mr. Kissinger? Okay. And so we do have a 100-year water supply, and that doesn't come from the Santa Cruz River. It comes from the Portrero well, and on the other side of town. So, you know, I've always worried, even when I was Public Works Director, about the Santa Cruz River, because Nogales, Sonora was growing in that direction on the east side, and they were bringing our water table down. And I remember during the drought time, which is, we don't have it right now, thank God, we were down, I mean, going to the point sometimes in some of the wells pumping mud out in those wells. That's why we made sure that we went to the west side of Nogales. So I'm very confident that the city of Nogales, the future growth of Nogales for 100 years is well. We're well, but I mean, we're gonna do fine with that. My concern about the Keno Springs area, and I've contemplated this a lot, and you know how I feel about annexation, and you know how I feel about economic development and future growth of Nogales, and that's one of the directions we have to grow to have residential areas for people that want to relocate in our county, in our city. And it's very important because the city of Nogales doesn't have anywhere for housing, for development, housing development. We don't have anywhere in the city of Nogales. We either go north to get the Peña Blanca Heights area, or we go to Keno Springs, and that's the only place. So I think if we help this agreement, that we can settle and help this organization, survive. And I think their survival is our survival too.
So is
It-
Morley Avenue.
Yeah, I know. Economically, I think it is. There's a lot. You have to look at the big picture, and I understand, Mr. I don't know how you feel, and I know that in the past 4 years, you guys have raised the sewer and the water and everything else. I wasn't part of that,
Neither was
and I would have voted against it.
Well, neither was I.
Okay, and I know that you confronted the city manager because you said to him, you know what, we're not investing in our infrastructure in the city of Nogales. How are we going to invest in the infrastructure in Keno Springs? We're not investing in infrastructure in the Keno Springs. We're not doing anything. We owe them money. We just gotta settle this thing, and I know.
Supposedly we owe them money.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's an agreement that says we owe them money.
All right,
And
well, let me finish.
yes, go ahead. Finish it. That's all right.
The reason I bring up all of this, because when I was mayor, I spent a lot of time in the Sonora area, and we had a great concern way back when, at that time, about the water and their growth and how it's going to impact us, okay? A previous mayor and council sold our CAP water rights. Those CAP water rights was our only legal way of proving a 100-year supply, and we sold it to the city of Scottsdale, which should have never been done. That is why I am worried about this for the future. It may not happen now. It may not happen while none of us are around. But we have an obligation to prepare the next mayor and council to make sure that that everything is reasonable here. You and I differ on the growing out there, because I look at it, retail, economic development, there's nothing out there that we're gonna get in return, but maybe some head counts over there. But I'd like to see more retail, so we get sales taxes.
You know how I feel. Yeah, you're right.
So, Mayor, and then, not finally, but, Mayor, can you explain to me count 4?
Just state your name and your address for the
Mayor
record, please.
Garino, members of the Nogales City Council. I'm Hugh Hallman. I'm here with Art Martori and Jerry Dixon, both of whom are principals of Keno, both the Keno Springs, the development, and then Keno Springs golf course operation. I will answer every question you've got, and if I can be helpful to answer some of the questions that may still be uncertain, that you don't think you've gotten full answers to, I'm happy to address that as well. So as long as you need. Before I get to your specific question, because I'm not exactly sure what you wanted, and you did count 4, the baseline of this agreement starts with the fact that Keno Springs had 712 acre-feet of water. It contributed that 712 acre-feet of water to Nogales, so it could help build its 100-year assured water supply. And the agreement in exchange for that was to have Nogales supply potable water to the residences and also to the golf course. So Keno Springs currently has the right to take 712 acre-feet of water every year from Nogales. The goal here is, and I think these questions are particularly helpful in this environment of trying to create clear transparency, so everybody in the community understands why this and why I actually support this deal, not just as a lawyer helping these gentlemen, but as a policymaker, that this is good policy for the city of Nogales. Because at the end of the day, what we are doing is first taking Keno Springs golf course off the potable water system. It has the right now to be watered with potable water. So you properly raise questions about what happens in an emergency. Well, right now, we get to take that water anyway. So what we were trying to create was an opportunity for Keno Springs to pay for, develop its own water out of that 712 acre-feet it has a right to, and that will count against that 712 acre-feet. But now the city of Nogales doesn't have to create the water, doesn't have to process it, doesn't have to pay to transport it over the hill and get it to not just but the golf course. So the idea that you're creating potable water that one could then floss one's teeth with the grass because it's got the fluoride in it seems a waste of resources. And this was a way to help reduce cost to the city of Nogales from its water system. So now Keno Springs is saying, we'll take raw water, we'll pay for the entire cost of developing that, and this 1,000 acre feet is just about the current claim value that even the city, and I think it's in a lot of your official documents as well, is at $195,000. I will tell you, as a lawyer, we don't need to sit in fisticuffs here, but Keno Springs says it's $400,000 plus $200,000 in interest because we prepaid a whole bunch of money that you now owe us. I said, forget it. These kind of things, just forget it. Let's come to an agreement that has some future possibility, not just for Keno Springs business, but for development of a community asset that, at the moment, you're right, it's headcount. And as a former mayor, thank you for reminding me that I at one time had some honor. Now I'm a lawyer, so you can see the direction.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. Well, there's an argument. I started as an economist first, and then became a lawyer, and then a politician. So you can see. But Dr. Verona, I think those questions are heartfelt and appropriate so the community knows why this ultimately leads to a good result for Nogales. So in terms of count 4, I think you mean the paragraph 4 in the document?
Yes. Mayor Coleman, I'm just concerned. Am I interpreting right? Because I kind of agree with you on it. That it says that if Keno Springs wants to go out of business, they have the right to go out of business, and we can't say, you got to stay in business.
Well, that's true with any business. The issue is who pays whom, and in this case, Keno Springs, the golf course operation, would have to shut down. Under the current scenario, where water is being taken from the potable water system, even at the reduced rate that you find shocking, but I understand, it's not a sustainable golf course operation. It can't happen. It can't work. Well, that will then reduce the likelihood of Keno Springs ever becoming a viable, vibrant residential community that supports Nogales. That headcount is now, because there's not retail up there, outside of the town of Nogales, the city of Nogales. Those people have to come to Nogales. They spend their money in Nogales and generate sales tax for your community. And if we get more people living out there without putting retail out there, they're still going to be coming to Nogales.
So
I think that's a good thing as a former mayor, having the generating sales tax. We're all hostage to that.
yes, I agree. But just clarity of thought here. You're willing in this agreement to drop counts 1, 2, and 3. Why won't you drop count 4? That's what I'm confused.
That will be our next step. The goal is we have 2 pieces that we needed to resolve, and the sort of general sense was it's too complex to try to do both at once. The first issue is resolving the water overcharging and creating an agreement that gives the Keno Springs Golf Course the opportunity to succeed. As a result, the residential project can succeed and generate the kinds of results for the community. We still have to work on the sewer thing, and this is the part that I think will be the greatest point of pride for both this project and ultimately this city. 30 years ago, when this project started, people were way ahead of the game, way ahead of current understanding, because this golf course operation is intended to eventually take the effluent that's generated by the residents, run through the sewer plant built by Keno Springs. All of the wells were developed by Keno Springs and turned over to the city. The sewer plant was built and developed by Keno Springs and turned over to the city, so that the city would have its operational control of those things. But in the 30 years since, that sewer plant has run down. It needs to be reworked. Nobody's standing here telling you that we're going to put our hand out and ask for money. In fact, when I did, your staff effectively cut off my fingers, so I now can't point as usefully as I used to. Did a good, in that regard, you had a very fierce negotiating team, and my client said, look, this is about, we're either going to make this work and create a great success, or we're going to fold the tent. And nobody wants to fold the tent. In terms of the counts, then, the only thing that's remaining is, now can we work on getting the sewer plant fixed up? And that will be the next goal, because the final result of this is, as houses are built, they use potable water from the city and pay the full fees for that. They create effluent. I won't go into the detail about how that happens. It goes into the sewer plant, and that water then goes to the golf course to replace the raw water, because we're always limited to 712 acre-feet of water. So the only way to build more residential projects, homes, so people can live there and add to your community, is to take the golf course off the raw water, potable water, and replace it with effluent. Well, our next goal has to be to fix up the sewer plant so that it will go back to creating the grade A effluent that can be put onto the golf course. And as residents come on, they'll generate enough effluent, and literally we'll be taking potable water that goes to the house, it comes into the sewer plant, creates effluent, and that goes onto the golf course. And we start taking the golf course and weaning it off of any raw or potable water. And now you will have perhaps the most sustainable residential project in this state, because it will have a green belt with golf course amenities to it that can help generate good residential product for you, and it will all be watered by effluent. That's a pretty impressive result. And that's far ahead of that town up north that stole your CAP water. Of course, I was not the mayor of that city. Let's make sure we understand
So
that.
you brought a high degree of clarity to me here.
I hope so.
Can you bring me some clarity on this if they're asking for emergency water?
So the emergency water, I think that's a particularly important question. I remind you, they already have the right to 712 acre feet of potable water. We're now saying we're going to just use the raw water. Well, that 712 acre feet came out of that water source that's underneath the Keno Springs and was given to the city of Nogales in exchange for the obligation to provide 712 acre feet of water. So currently, if there were an emergency, Keno Springs would still be treated along with everyone else. But Mr. Martori already has told me, and I'll tell you on the record, if there were a water emergency where residents in Nogales were at risk for not receiving water, they would not be watering a golf course. And I'm stating that on the record. You don't need that in a contract. That's the reality is you have the power as a municipality, if there's a water emergency, to declare a water emergency and to set priorities. But regardless, Mr. Martori is here because he has an expertise in golf courses. And I'll tell you, his real story is he's a farmer. I know him well because I worked for him 45 years ago driving combines down wheat fields. And he used to and still does scare the hell out of me. He's one of the few people who intimidates me. But his expertise, he calls himself a grass farmer as well, because of his farming background, he helped generate some of the finest golf courses this state has. The Biltmore Resort golf courses are his creation. Thank you. The Wigwam courses are his. Arrowhead course. And in fact, he went down and developed one in Mexico. His family has for 100 years or so done a lot of business between Mexico and Arizona. And that's also how we know one another.
So how do we clear up the wording on this thing for the emergency to make sure that 15, 20 years, the mayor and council are okay? What can we put in there to make sure?
Well, I think we have put that in there, in that we are committing.
Just a clarifying sentence.
Okay, what do you think would be helpful to you?
Well, I just want to make sure that if the city needs water in the future, and there's an emergency for us and an emergency for you, I don't want it to be into a legal tangle that the city has the ultimate right to say, hey, we need that water right now, that potable water. It may, like Mayor Garino said, it may never come, but what if it does come to another future mayor?
So let me propose this, that I would add, to make sure that your concern is addressed, a sentence that says, notwithstanding the above, in the event the city of Nogales declares a water emergency, it shall have the right to terminate supply of water under this provision.
Perfect.
All right?
Potable water, right?
That's,
So,
it's the emergency potable water provision.
Right.
Yes.
In fairness, Mayor, you want to,
No, that's what we're talking about. Dr. Verona is properly raising the issue about how do we declare an emergency, and I'm saying the right answer to his concern is appropriate. That under this clause, which is the emergency clause, in the event that the city of Nogales declares a water emergency, it shall have the right to terminate provision of water services under this emergency clause.
perfect.
Does that work for you, Mr. Massey?
Yes.
Golf course.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't terminate it to the residents because they have a right to. Yeah.
To Montori.
Go ahead, sir. Sidebar with him there.
Mr. Madrona?
Sir?
Yes. When that administration that bought, that sold the CAP water, you remember what they did with the money?
So,
No, you want me to tell you what they did with the money?
Yes.
They bought all the land that Winfield had for the water rates. That's what they bought, that's what they used, the 3 million, so much. And Jose Luis de la Osa was there, and he told me everything. He was the mayor at the time.
No, he wasn't the mayor at the time.
He was a
It
council.
It was Cesar Rios.
Yeah, but he was in the city council.
Oh, he might have been on the city council. But no, I still think, when you have the state of Arizona saying CAP, nobody can touch you with that. That's the best thing. Did you guys finish your side?
Yeah, and he just wanted to make sure that we were attaching it to the emergency clause. And let me read the whole sentence and make sure we're correct. There's a leading sentence that says, KSGC acknowledges that it does not intend to access the city's potable water except, one, for the period of time from the effective date of this settlement agreement to the completion of the new well and the refit of well number 5, which we're going to try to get done immediately, and in a water emergency. And I'm adding, notwithstanding the above sentence, if the city of Nogales, actually I think it's just defined as Nogales in this, isn't it? Or is it defined as the city, Michael? It's good. If the city declares a water emergency, KSGC, now let's do it this way. If the city declares a water emergency, the city may terminate KSGC's right to use potable water under the emergency water clause. And that, I think, gets to your point.
And you brought a lot of clarity for me to this thing, you know. And
Say that louder, because then we
Oh,
can get my bill.
I feel a lot more comfortable now. The only thing is that I can't support this until I get the surface water deal to make sure there's no adverse impact to the city as recommended by the attorney.
May I try to answer
Sure.
that in a way that may solve the logic problem? Because Keno has the right to the 712 acre feet anyway, you have to pull the water out of the ground, put it into your system, and then send it back to us. So even if it were to adversely affect your surface water, it would be exactly the same thing. And the nice advantage is we're pulling water from the north here, not from your southern pump system and other things that more directly impacts the city. So it's taking the 712 acre feet out of your water plant, putting it over here in this well. We have the right to draw that same amount of water anyway. So even if one said, well, it's going to impact it, the answer is, yeah, but we gave you the 712 acre feet in exchange for the obligation for you to give it back to us. So we can't get more than the 712 acre feet. And at the current time, they're not getting that much.
Mayor, I was anti this. After listening to you, I'm in favor.
Thank you.
But I still want that what the attorney recommended. Like you know, I don't like to base myself on attorney recommendations.
Oh, that's a mistake.
What I would like to see, because our attorney says that we should have that surface water. I guess we can get it right away. I would be willing to vote for this pending the approval that this surface water memorandum is brought back to us for final approval.
I think that's just a ministerial act. I mean,
Well,
I'm
whether
certain
the
that we
minister-
can do that.
Go ahead,
Do
Councilman.
you have a problem?
Only that this agreement needs to get passed so we can
Yes.
go on to the next step.
Yes.
The challenge we're facing, Dr. Verona,
Yes, sir.
is until we get this done, we keep taking potable water out of your system. And that costs you more money than getting this done.
Councilman Rojas.
Yes, thank you,
Yes,
Mayor.
we'll be in a rush.
Yes.
Thank you. I've been dying for this question. Mr. Kissinger,
You're killing me. No, go ahead.
I want to see Mr. Kissinger start earning that raise.
There you go.
But I also know that you have historical knowledge on this as well, because he's been here for a while. Do you recommend this?
Yes, sir.
And Mayor, I'm ready to vote tonight.
Let me tell you,
I'm ready to go for this.
I also feel the same way, and I think I said what I said, how important it is economically for us as a city, and how important it is for them to be successful with it, of course.
Mayor, just one more point. So what's going to
Mr.
happen?
Verona, please, let me finish.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Were you speaking?
No, I was just talking to myself.
Speak a little bit.
Yes. No, señor.
Español es muy malo, but it's.
Padre, see that, and
Well,
I'm
that's why-
glad Father Velasquez is
But
here.
I've been calm, you
Yes,
noticed.
yes, and I'm glad you have. But, and thank you very much, because almost everything you said, I was gonna tell the council. Right? Because I was gonna tell them about the effluent water, how important it was. I was gonna tell them about the plant there, and I was gonna tell them everything the city did over there, and everything that we should be doing in that area for future growth. And you, Mayor, did a fine job, you know. And I knew the minute you were gonna get up there, Mr. Varona was gonna change his mind. I knew you were
Please
gonna.
don't jinx me at
No,
this
no,
stage.
no, no, don't,
I'm
no.
glad the
Oh, he
father
already
is here.
said it, he can't go back on his word. He can't go back on, but, you know, you have to understand, we do have questions on this, and it's, water is gold. That's right. You know, water is gold all over the world. And,
They still say in
and I
Maricopa
think,
County that
I think Nogales.
whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting.
Yeah, no, but you know what? I think Nogales is such a fine place because CAP water, we would have never gotten it, okay? Because it would have to be pumped uphill. It would be in the millions and billions of dollars for us to get a drop of that water. So I think the decision that was made by that mayor and council at the time was a good decision because the money was used for good. But we do have to be very careful with this, and I support this agreement. I've had a long conversation with Mr. Massey about this, you know, in the past 2 weeks, and he's tried to explain everything and answer most of my questions, and he's done a great job doing that, but you know, and I understand Mr. Varona's point, you know, and I'm glad that Mr. Hanesian didn't even say anything because I was really afraid if he was going to say something that we'd be here till probably lunch tomorrow. ¿Verdad? You know.
Let's
But
take
no,
the
no, Mr.
vote, let's
Hanesian,
take the vote, Jesus.
yes,
Don't fall asleep.
you know, I want to thank you very much for coming down to Nogales, sir, and doing this for the members of the city council presenting
It's
this.
an honor and a
Okay.
privilege.
Yes, thank you.
Mayor
Now,
Cadino.
Mr. Varona, go
Thank you.
ahead.
Just, what's a summary on count 4 then? You're gonna drop it in the future? I wanna make sure there's
Yeah,
no
count 4
counts.
is only about the sewer, trying to
Okay.
get that sorted out.
All right,
And the
so-
city has to deliver effluent. The answer was, we're not even gonna deal with that. It's too complex. Let's get the water fixed. Then we're gonna start working on the sewer plant.
Okay, I just wanna make sure that we don't come to an agreement and then all of a sudden we're in court on count 4 or anything like that.
Okay, I call for the question. It's going to be roll call, Betty. And we'll start with Mr. Bojorquez.
Mr. Velázquez,
Aye.
Mr. Genesian,
Aye.
Mr. Varona,
Mayor, I'd like to explain my vote.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
I wasn't in agreement with this, but it was explained well, it's brought clarity, transparency to the board. The only thing that I'm concerned right now is that, the surface water memorandum, okay? And I understand what you're saying, and I don't wanna hold it up for that reason. But if it is a ministerial act, as Mr. Massey indicates, I would like for you, Mr. Massey, to place that on the agenda so I can get that into the record of that memorandum that we did to make sure that this council is protected, that we covered everything.
Very good. So that will be on the next council meeting, next council
Can I have your
agenda.
vote?
I vote aye.
Mr. Maldonado,
Aye.
Mr. Lopez,
Aye.
Mrs. Lopez,
Yes.
Can I
Mayor.
explain my vote? Aye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, members of the
Even
city
the
council.
trumpeter was voting with me.
Okay, you guys, we'll go to number 8.
Trumpeter.
This is gonna be
Thank
an
you.
easy one.
Oh, thank you.
Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Consideration and possible action of order 2019-08-046.
So move, Mayor.
Second, discussion.
Mayor,
Yes.
could I just have a report from Chief Remulis?
I might be able to help you with that report, Dr. Varona.
Okay?
The Datacom arrangement that we have with Datacom with Mr. Bering was for the lease and the rent of the repeater site up on Mount Benedict. We've enjoyed that for many years. I think we're paying currently $250 or $2,500 a month for the lease of that repeater site, which is the same amount that Mr. Bering pays the owner of the site. It's a cell or a tower company. Mr. Bering, over the years, has been indicating to the city he wants to get out of the business of renting that site up there, and has offered the city the opportunity to rent directly from, is it American Towers? Something? Maybe American Towers asset. And in addition, Mr. Bering has improved that site. In at the back of your packet, there's a list of items that he has placed to improve it, and has brought a dollar amount to that. We discussed this at length, if you remember, during our budget,
Yes.
and we did budget for this action item that you have in front of us. So this is just the official act of entering into the agreement with Mr. Bering to pay him for his assets that we have up there and take over the lease with American Towers.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
call for the question.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, resolution number 8, consideration possible action of resolution R 2019-08-003. Mr. Massey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This goes along with the ordinance to an extent. Resolutions tend to come forward on the council agenda. But if with the council's permission, we could discuss both the ordinance and the charter provision. Of course, when the situation arose at the end of last year, at the beginning of this year, when we found ourselves without a city magistrate, we had to go to the presiding judge of the Superior Court to appoint a judge pro tem. And I read in the newspaper that Judge Fink said the reason why he had to do that is because there's nothing in our ordinance that created a procedure for even the appointment of a temporary city magistrate. So right there, since that time, I was aware that our ordinance was not sufficient for our need. And so when the council did hire a presiding magistrate, then she and I have sat down and we went through the whole of the ordinance and the whole of the charter provision on the city court. The ordinance, the basic backbone for this ordinance, I looked around for several cities' ordinances on how they organize their municipal court, and it's basically from the city of Phoenix and city of Chandler. And then I added the current provisions in our ordinance that are still, necessary and useful to us. So it's basically a mashup of about 3 different cities. And then I sat down with the presiding magistrate, and she went through and made her revisions. I also checked with our prosecutor to make sure it was going to work for us. So that's the ordinance. And then with the charter provision, which is this resolution, the whole thing is very antiquated, just even from the point of view of organization. Right now, the municipal court in our charter is called the Judiciary Department. It's located in the administration chapter, so it basically looks like it's just another arm of city government. And in a way, it is because of the administrative element to the employees that operate in the city court. They are city employees, but no other charter that I've looked at has it that way. And so, again, we then pulled this charter provision out from a section, and it's a very lengthy section. It's one of the longest sections in the city charter. We broke it out into separate sections, but then we put it in its own chapter. so that the municipal court is now going to have its own chapter in the city charter. And the first thing that is said in this charter provision is there's hereby established a separate and independent system within the government of the city of Nogales. A city court to be known as the Nogales Municipal Court. So it's separate and independent. And that language is right from the Phoenix Charter. They call their court a separate independent system. I didn't initially put that in, but our magistrate says, let's make sure that it's independent system.
Separate and independent, I concur. But it also said there, if I recall right, but under the jurisdiction of the city manager.
That is correct for the administration.
But that's in there,
that is in there as well. So the concept of this charter provision is not to change the current functioning of the city court, but to make it very explicit that the city judge not only is an independent judge, a tribunal of law, very important part of the whole judicial system here in Santa Cruz County, but she also is a department head. She or he is also going to be a department head, and in that respect, under the overall supervision of the city manager as the obvious administrator of the city, but also under the city council for the purpose of budgeting and for having to apply the personnel manual that is adopted by the city council. So all of those things have to kind of blend together. She wears two hats. She's a judge, but at the same time, she operates the court. And not all of the judges in Arizona have that responsibility. It's very unique to a smaller city court where you have to be a one-man band. You know, you're supervising your personnel, and at the same time you're sitting as a judge. And so we're putting all of this together so that it's very clear that that is not only, but this doesn't change. I mean, this just reflects what the current operation is, but it gives the sustenance of the legal, basis to do what we're already doing. And that's really what a charter should be.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
This is great. We started with this 2 years ago, and it fell flat on its face. And we spent a lot of time on trying to get our charter updated. And it just, I support everything here, Mr. Massey, the work that's been done. There's clarity and everything. The only thing as a matter of practice for myself on the ordinance, Mr. Massey, I cannot support an emergency deal. I'd like for the public to be aware of what's going on, especially since this is going to go, the resolution will be on the ballot in November of 2020.
Well, the ordinance staff report is what we always use, which is if the ordinance, when it comes up for consideration and vote, if it's adopted unanimously, then there's an option that you can take a second vote to waive a second reading. But if you don't want to do that, because of the necessary gravity of it, but the thing is, even if you waive the second reading, Mr. Mayor, members of council, it does not take effect. There is no emergency clause in here, so there is a normal 30-day delay in its effect and operation, and of course that 30-day is to allow the possibility, if citizens so choose, to decide to want to pass a referendum petition and put it on the ballot to, we haven't had that happen since I've been here, but, so yeah, the ordinance is just a normal enactment date, but there is, the way it's being presented for your consideration, if it is unanimous, you could make a vote to waive the second reading.
So are you talking about the resolution?
No, I'm talking about the ordinance at that point.
But
yeah. The resolution, if I can go back to talk about the resolution, one of the things that is blank on the resolution is to choose the date when you want to put this on the ballot. This is a charter change under the Arizona Constitution and obviously under our own charter. The charter amendments can only be referred by council to the vote of the people. but you can choose in your resolution the date. And so March is not available because it's a presidential preference election. So that allows for next year for May, August, or December, or excuse me, November. And I'm not going to make a recommendation on which one, but I
was
think,
gonna ask you that.
you know, I think the council is well aware, probably one being more preferable than the other, so I'll leave that to council.
But we did want this particular item on the ballot for this November.
Well, that is no longer possible. We're too close into for this November, so that's why I'm saying now the only dates that are available are next May, August, and November.
No, but what I'm saying is, before, we should have known about the 120
Right.
days instead of the
Right,
90.
and that is my error.
That-
Yes, I will own that error, Councilman Barona.
The only thing is on this one here, I've always been one, the more people we get at the ballots to vote, the better chance we have of succeeding. This isn't going to be the only issue that we're gonna propose as a charter change, okay? We still need to talk about some other charter changes. That's why it was nice if we could have cleared this up this November, so we could take on, so, but that ship has left. So, on this one, it would be easier for me, I think, with the voters, even if there's other, the state of Arizona puts in some other resolutions that they want to pass or anything like that, but I just think there's voters and the people, if we handle this right, this can be done properly, even with these other proposed charter changes that we're going to do.
Correct. And Mr. Mayor, if I can add one thing, the resolution that you see before you, if you go ahead and pass it, and obviously select which election date of next year to put it in front of the voters, this whole 4 pages will be part of the publicity pamphlet. So that obviously becomes something that the city will pay for as far as a pro rata cost of printing the publicity pamphlet. But what actually gets presented on the ballot, I'm going to pull this out, is just the question itself. It's the official title, the descriptive title, and then you jump all the way to a yes vote has the effect of, you know, this, and a no vote has the effect of that. So that whole meat of what is actually changing is not on the ballot. So there would be a need for you know, outreach to the public between now and the election to let the voters know, in addition to the publicity pamphlet, what is coming up and what the intent is and what the effect is. So, so that's.
I recommend November.
November.
Yeah, I'm with you with that.
November.
Even though we still have possibility of more charges.
Yes, yes. But I mean, it'll give us more time to work with it.
You need to also, Mr. Massey, to make sure, tell us the legal status of what we can do as mayor and council to promote this.
You know, you're not being paid for
but
your
can-
time for promoting it, so
But
you can do what you
Can I go
can.
walk door to door with Mr. Kissinger during his time? That's what
He's too expensive.
Well, no, but that's what I mean. People use, not school supplies, but city supplies. Just want to make sure that we don't get into a problem and somebody
Right.
tries.
No, there is, and that's, it's always valid to make sure that we are going to be operating ethically and transparently. And there is a statute that says cities cannot spend public money to influence an election. But your time, we're not paying you your time, so you can go and do everything that you want to promote this proposition at the
It'll be
ballot.
easy for you. You're running for re-election.
And not only that, you
You're gonna
know,
walk with backing on doors for your election. Say, let's talk about this resolution.
right.
No, Mayor, that's it.
And as far as, well, we're also looking for people to say pro on this, you know, because you can have pro arguments. So if you know other people that would be informative on that, so yeah, all of that can be done, but no expenditure
If you
of
could just
public
give us
money.
an outline, and the department has had this outline. I don't want a good thing to turn bad because we missed something.
That's a good point.
Mayor, I'm
Yes.
supportive of the resolution, so are we under discussion right now for the resolution?
I did.
Yes. Motion.
I make a motion
Yes.
that resolution number R 2019-08-003 be passed and adopted as presented and recommended to include the
November?
election set for November of 2020.
Second.
Second.
All right.
Or so second.
Yeah, maybe don't pay attention. Eh?
You second, seconded, yeah. All right.
He needs a connection.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Were you gonna say something, Councilman Rojas?
No,
Okay. I thought you were gonna say.
just I.
Okay. All right, number 2, consideration. Ooh, you're gonna break his. Ooh.
He's getting stronger.
Motion to approve resolution
Wait a
R
minute.
2019-08-004 as presented.
Second.
All right, you guys are pushing it. All right, discussion on that one.
No, Mayor, the only thing is this is a complete duplication and waste of taxpayers' money
Yes.
by the federal government here. And all they're going to do is ruin us as a port where the truckers are going to go to Texas instead of coming.
Yeah, and it's gonna slow it up too. Yeah, we have to facilitate, we gotta make everything speedy at that. You're right about that, Councilman. All right. We had a motion, discussion, okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Consideration possible action on ordinance 02019-08-003. Mr. Massey? Is that
I think I've
He's
presented
covered it all.
Good enough.
So moved, Mayor, to approve.
Second.
The only thing is, Mr. Mayor, under the discussion, is I just want to make sure, I want to make sure that if somebody in the public wants to make some changes or something, case, that we have the ability 30 days. If it's completely, if I vote aye and it's completely unanimous, people still have to come here and we can change in case or hear them.
Of course.
Okay.
The ordinances, the city code, which is the code of our city ordinances, that is under your control as council. This is your book. These are the local laws, and that's one of the most important functions of a city council, is to be the legislators of the local law. So if we see that there's something in here, even after it becomes effective and it's just not working, we can immediately come back to council and request an amendment. So this is always something that's immediately part of the jurisdiction of this council.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
The only question I had on Mr. Matthew was on the municipal court enhancement fund. Is that okay?
Yes, that was the municipal court enhancement fund is discretionary with the judge. So it puts that authority in here that she can create that, but it also maintains her discretion that in the proper case, she can waive it. So it's not mandatory. We don't want to overstep the discretion that should be properly exercised by a judge.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
Question? Call for the question.
Cool. You guys have a good conversation over there? You
Oh,
guys-
this guy with his Fox News right now. It's incredible, man.
I know.
That's why-
I think we're gonna have to change.
No, nobody's willing to change with me. You know,
Have you already talked to the other council?
Yes.
Nobody wants to
Only-
get close to Mr. Hanesyan?
No, told me no.
Then we're gonna have a problem. Maybe I'll move over there.
Let's discuss the exorcism. Let's get to that. We need to get to the point.
Call for the question, Mayor.
That'll be a future agenda items. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
And the mayor, if I can be heard, if we can have another vote to see if we can waive the second reading, it still will delay it by 30 days, but what that means is it's not going to come back in September,
Okay.
and we don't have to wait till October.
Okay.
Because the thing is, not having our presiding judge able to appoint judges pro tem is affecting our proper and efficient operation of the court.
Perfect.
It really is.
All right, do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Yeah, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, Mr. Massey, that when the judge, we didn't budget for that.
Judges pro tem, she would have to, judges, people who are willing to work, judges pro tem do not charge a lot of money. And so what they end up doing, what the Justice Court does now, is you hire them in 4-hour blocks, and it can be very economical. And so I don't think she's going to need an extra element to her budget to be able to do that. And it will make our lives, with those cases where she does declare a conflict and there's not that many, that means that the judges pro tem will come to our court. Right now we have a case pending in Justice Court in Pima County, which is impossibly difficult for a small misdemeanor type.
Well, that costs more than paying the person.
Yes, exactly.
Call for the question.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Massey. Great job. You too, Mr. Kissinger. Number 10, Mayor and City Council's report on current.
No comment for Dr. Verona?
No,
Terrible.
I think you did a great job. I think you did a
Mr.
good
Verona,
job.
you did a good job too.
I have something to send the next one.
Oh, no.
Okay, wait a minute. We gotta let Mr. Hanesian, you know, he hasn't said a word today. I'm concerned. All right, so let's try, Mr. Hanesian, this Mayor and Council's report on current events. Can we start with you or Mr. Bojorquez or?
Mr. Bojorquez?
Mr.
I
Bojorquez?
don't have anything for this month, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Hanesian?
Well, the only thing I have to say is we did go to Bridgeport, to Connecticut. It was very, very interesting of how they basically changed the city around from, I was there 10 years ago, and I don't want to use the name of Baltimore again, but you know, it was not the nicest of cities, and they've turned it around quite a lot. And they did a lot of very interesting things. They do have a bank that's very strongly backing them, and but it did change it a lot. It still has a lot more, but it has changed a lot, and I think we learned a lot there. I think Dr. Verona will give us an explanation there. And let him take my next 5 minutes.
Okay. Yield the time to Mr. Verona.
I don't want to say too much, but just to say it was very, very worthwhile, especially on economic development. Their administrators there, I mean, they got the Corps of Engineers to raise the water level there. We all agreed that all of the restaurants there, I mean, people, young people going in over there, and it's just wonderful what they've done over there. They're turning in their AAA baseball field into an auditorium because the baseball went out of business there. And it was a very good, and these people also came down to see our Nogales Sport when we had the Hilo convention in Tempe. Also, Mr. Mayor, they also reported there that on the census that's coming up, that we had an undercount of children from 0 to 5 age group. 10 years ago, 400,000 children were not counted. So we need to make sure because we're going to need those dollars when we're talking about that. I also want this morning in the Washington Post. Oh my God. I read an article. The article is entitled "Hispanics in America Are Under Attack." It was written by 38 wonderful article. It was written by 38 Latino leaders. One of them was Joaquin Castro, the brother of the presidential candidate. But I'm telling you, I hope, Father, you get to read this article.
He's being recalled, you know.
But I will tell you that I was so proud that Mayor Marco Lopez was one of those 38 that signed that article.
Talked to him this morning.
Yeah, it was very good. So I really enjoyed that. I also just want to remind everybody, if we can put something out, Representative Grijalva is having a small women and minority-owned business exporting workshop Wednesday, August the 21st in Tucson, to tell the women here so they can go over there if they want some some things, some help with their businesses and workshops. There's gonna be a lot of agencies over there where they can help them with monies for their business and everything. So I think that's important. And also, I don't know if this is on the wrong one, but Mr. Kitchen, if you can just send us a little report on we're paying, I understand now from the workers that we're paying $6,000 for the rent of a garbage truck. And they say that it doesn't function very well for what we're paying for rent. Could you look into that and let us know? Also, Marcel, thank you. The fire station #1, the grass that was dying out there that they wanted to put rocks, we said we wanted, it looks beautiful. Well done. Also, the grass at Keno Park, Mr. Bachiller, beautiful. It's a nice, when people are coming across through the bridge there, Holboat Bridge, what a welcoming that is to see that green area there where people can go and enjoy that area. And what I saw today at Techea Park was also wonderful. So I see a lot of positive movement having there, and I'm seeing a lot of people at the tennis courts using that new facility that was there. Mayor, that's all that I have.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of basically Nogales Little League, the regional tournament staff, and Western Regional Headquarters Mayor, they all want to give the city a big thanks. Parks and Rec, Nogales PD, Nogales Fire Department, and Medical Department, all the city community that supported the tournament. It was a very big success. Nogales High School, all the sponsors. It was extremely good. I know you talked to some people. Everybody that came down for the regional tournament was really ecstatic with the reception of all the places where they went, restaurants, Walmart, Safeway, all the places where they went, they were very welcome. Umpires, parents, coaches, everybody was really supportive of the city and how welcoming the city was to everybody coming down. And it was, very positive for us, hopefully to get this tournament for another 3 years.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
It's good to hear, Vice Mayor.
Yesterday, as we all did, I would like big welcome to our new fire chief, Mr. Jeffrey. Beat you to it.
Yes.
And welcome to Nogales, and it was great meeting you. Thank you.
I was gonna have the band come in and ruin it for me. They're waiting outside. God, Chief, come on. Oh, Chief, thank you very much, Chief.
Thank
you. Councilman Rojas?
Thank you, Mayor. I actually think that Councilman Barona and Councilman Inesian did a great job in reporting our trip to Bridgeport. It was a very good, positive trip. One of the things that I noticed with the staff over there, their enthusiasm and working together, which I think is occurring now with our council, with the things that we're addressing. I think that we have the same enthusiasm that they displayed. So I'm very happy about that. And I do have some future agenda items. Are we going to go into that?
Yeah, after we finish with
that would be all I have to say. Thank you very
right.
much, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Well, we're still working for the Fiestas Patria event. There's going to be September 14th. And then the Festival Dia de Muertos, October 26th. And for the Christmas event that will be happening from December 1st through January the 6th. It's a lot of work. Thank you everybody that is helping. Thanks to the council for all the support. And it's a lot of work, but we can do it. That's it.
Thank you.
Before you,
yes, go ahead.
I just want to make sure I did mention Parks and Rec was extremely supportive in the tournament, and everybody loved the fields and all the support they did with the work with Mother Nature. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, I got a few things. Well, as you remember, we just got past also our 4th of July Independence Day, which was great. Everybody had a great time, and
And remember, we had our Grand Marshal was our state representative, Rosana Gabaldon, which she loved it. She wanted me to tell everybody that she had a great time being the Grand Marshal, and something that she had never been selected for in all her time in politics, so she enjoyed being part of the parade and everything. She wasn't able to attend the event at night because she had other things to do, but the parade was fun for her. Also, I want to thank the members of the City Council for all the work we did with the budget. And it was good. It was a great budget, and it was tough days that we worked on it, but I think we were successful, and it's going to take us through our next into 2020. And then I won't say much about the Little League Intermediate West Regionals because you said everything on that. And thank you very much, Vice Mayor, for all the work you do there and all your staff, and congratulations for another successful year on that. Also, some of us attended the Tohono O'odham chairman who was elected, Ned Norris, a friend of ours that's in the past have helped us with generous donation to help us out here in the city, and we plan to go visit him again to help us out on some because they do apply grants, they do help with grants. So he's the new chair for the Tohono O'odham, and then there was the second annual dedicated employee years service ceremony that I attended, and I want to say that I was selected to present Letty her how many years was it, Letty? I didn't want to say that. Thank you for saying that. 25 years. 25 years. When I was saying that she was an institution, she said, "Oh, you just made me feel old." And I said, "I didn't mean it that way." She started at 15. She started at 15. Oh, so she's not that old. No, and Letty, congratulations, and all the employees of the city that got that, and also my wife and I were asked to help out with the 30th annual border shootout, the golf tournament. It was great. We were the ones measuring the distance, from the ball to the hole, and we had one guy get 3 feet from it, so he got a good prize. We thought he was going to be a hole in one, but when he got there, he says, "Mayor, you could have kicked it in the hole. You could have kicked it." And I said, "No, mayors don't do that." And he said, "How much does it take, Mayor?" I said, "It doesn't take much." He said, "No." But it was a great day. It was a very hot day. It was there in Tubac. And then, Chief, I was going to say, I got him on the list here. Mr. Sargent, he's as you know, he's our new chief, fire chief, and thank you very much for taking this opportunity to be our chief here, and I'm sure you're going to do a great job. Yeah, thank you very much, and as you can see, this is your first council meeting.
I've watched them on YouTube before I came.
Yeah. Okay, wait a minute. Stop right there. Stop right there, Chief. Was it during my administration or the previous one?
During yours.
It was good, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted to do. Okay, because we're having fun here. Even though Mr. Barona sometimes gets excited, Chief.
Father, they're picking on him.
But everything. But my doors are open there, and the members of the city council, and we wish you the best. Okay, Chief. Thank you very much for.
Mayor.
Yes.
Can I just real quickly forget
Yes.
one? At that Hilo deal, the city of Mesa made a presentation. They just started a new app for the city of Mesa, where the citizens they don't need to call in on their iPhones. They can go ahead and take pictures and send it into a center there at the city of Mesa, and whether it's a pothole, a graffiti painting, whatever they want to make contact or us make contact with the people. It's a wonderful app. You might see if you look at that and give it to our IT people and see if they can get an app for us here.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it's possible, because I don't know anything how those things work, but they say they've been very successful among the citizens with that. Thank you,
No,
sir.
that'd be a good idea. And as our police chief has always said, technology is what's gonna take us in the future. Maybe that's part of a technology.
If I may, really quickly.
Yes, go ahead, chief.
Councilman Barone, we have an app already with the police department. It's called USPD Hub. You just need to upload it to your phone and you can
Take a picture.
and report graffiti, potholes, anything that you want to report anonymously. Or you can put your name and even GPS it exactly where it's at. So we have that, and then I can discuss it with everybody. So you guys can upload whatever we have. And,
Oh, I didn't know that.
we do that with copy with the top all the time. We do outreach with USPD Hub, so that's available already.
Oh, great. Good.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
That's good. Okay, on street and road update, I got some good news for you. Some of the projects that we've been waiting for the longest time, McNabb Drive, the pavement and the replacement there, that'll start August 12th. Okay? It's right around the corner. Paseo Verde and Valle Verde Drive, August the 26th. They'll start that. That's the one also being done that takes you out to Grand Avenue on next to Circle K, that dirt section to the four-way there. And then Perkins Avenue. I know some of you have been waiting for that. And also that's the water and paving replacement. That starts September the 23rd. So you give these dates already in case somebody asks, and I know some of the people are going to be saying, you know, especially the Perkins one, because of the school. We're going to have issues because of, you know, but we'll be able to handle it, and we'll figure out how to detour that. And some of the in-house streets the Public Works is going to be they're going to be doing. There's two of them that they're going to be doing right now because they're going to be assisting on the others. That's going to be the section of West Street from Walnut to the end of Boswick. That small section there. They're going to repave it. They're going to take it all up and redo it new. And if there's any service lines they need to do, they're going to be doing that. That's going to start August the 26th. And then John Williams, that's going to start September 11th. That's that little street off Alice. As soon as you pass Portrero, to the right, there's a little, remember where those houses burned?
Yeah.
That little alley right there, that's going to be taken care of. So we're doing, in-house, we're doing a lot of small streets that haven't been touched in 50 years. So we're gonna start doing a lot. The Public Works actually had other streets that they're gonna be doing in-house, but I asked them just to give me the ones that they're gonna start on, you know, in the near future. So that's all I have, members of the City Council, and you know, well, remember we have a retreat, and you guys got the information on that also, and the League of Cities and Towns that we're gonna be going to on the week of the 19th. So with that,
Future agenda items?
future agenda items. Does anybody have one? Do you have one? Council? Go ahead.
Can I beat them
Yes, go
once
ahead.
tonight?
Councilman Viejas, go ahead. Do it.
Once, just once
Okay.
tonight. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilman.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I've been contacted with, and I did talk with the chief, I did talk with you, Mayor, on hopefully having a study session to address the active shooters. I know that the community is concerned on that. For that matter, Dr. Barona, Councilman, what do you think about having the schools, some of the schools, some of the things that we are engaged with the schools with active shooters as well? So maybe we can coordinate something with the schools along with the police chief, and some of the concerns that our citizens are having, we can address them with that
That's
study
good.
session.
Yeah, we should have one, and we should always be on the alert for that. And
I think so.
Thank you very much for bringing that up.
I think, and then you hit my number B, which was the update on the streets.
Yeah,
So thank
okay.
you, Mayor, for
Thank you very much.
bringing that.
Councilman Varona.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to put on the discussion for, we took away these educational requirements, remember, because we wanted to increase them, but it looked like it didn't serve a purpose. So I'd like to bring back the educational requirement policy.
All right.
And also, I'd like to have, there was a letter sent to us, a detailed letter, where the police union has some concerns about the body cameras. I would like to have some transparency and address it, and also at the same time, the policy on the body cameras, okay? Also, the National League of Cities Veteran Supportive City. Mr. Kissinger looked into that on the weekly newsletter that the National League puts up. And also he showed me, because I showed him that they advertise certain positions, and within 5 minutes he had us on that.
Okay.
So we're advertising the city manager's position right there.
Great.
Also, if Mr. Massey could help us so we can start having us, you started off getting input from us on city charter changes. I'd like to continue that, or if you have that document that you started with us from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if you have that, you can bring it back, because we spent a lot of time with you and it just didn't go anyplace because of a new city attorney. Nothing with you, but with the city. But if you can bring it back so we can have some. And I'd just like to find out about the ADOT inspection of our trash trucks. I know that ADOT's busy right now checking school buses, but if we can just have an update on that. I've brought this up several times, if the fire chief can give us a report about the concern at the Mesa Fire Department of various firefighters dying from cancer because of the elements of that, give us a report to make sure that doesn't happen here. Oh, also, Mayor, if you could just let us know what your plans are for the selection, the process, how we're going to do with the city attorney position. And since one of the candidates is the acting city attorney, that you make sure that you and Mr. Kissinger get us another attorney to guide us through all of this.
Yes.
That's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the charter change, just for Mr. Massey, we found out that the housing authority is not included in the city charter. So if you could look into that, so we can include it as a department of the city.
Right. If I can respond, and I'll be bringing their charter changes before you, probably one every month for several months. And one of those areas is to streamline the administration. And I think we discussed that about taking out specific departments, but creating the authority in council by ordinance or resolution to create the departments. And so that reflect, because right now our city government, not every department is in the charter, and one department is in the charter that we don't have anything staffed for. So it hasn't stayed up with the times. But that's why if we can just put in the charter like an authority that council will do that by ordinance or resolution, that's I think what appropriate use of a charter is.
So Councilman, what he's saying is one of the charter changes that he's going to bring forward will address that issue.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Hearing none, I adjourn.
Amen.